Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Solutions Lab. With you once again, I am Matt Allison, Microsoft Technical Advisor, and I am legitimately thrilled to bring you today's topic. Today, I get the opportunity to present to you one of the most requested topics we have ever received. That elusive new Microsoft Cloud product, Microsoft 365. So, let's start off with what I would consider to be the obvious question, especially for those of you, this is the first that you're hearing of it. What is Microsoft 365? All right, well, put simply, Microsoft 365, or M365, is a suite of cloud-based Microsoft products, specifically Office 365, Windows 10, and Enterprise Mobility and Security, or EMS. One SKU with those three products included, providing you with Office 365's capabilities, advanced security, and enterprise-grade device management. The goal for this suite is to provide customers with a single per user cost for a total transformation into the modern workplace. It's an exciting and powerful product that we feel a lot of you out there could be utilizing to make some serious sales and margin. Since these products are all cloud and subscription based, Microsoft 365 is sold exclusively through the CSP program. Now, when we discuss M365 with customers, there actually tends to be a bit of confusion, actually, how this product compares specifically to Office 365. So I wanted to alleviate that now. That's actually one of the easier questions to cover. As I already said, Microsoft 365 includes Office 365. So to be clear, they are only comparable in the sense that M365 provides significantly more functionality and security while also including all of Office 365's features. With M365, you get the security features included in EMS, as well as the added functionality unlocked with Windows 10. M365 can be considered an upsale, actually, for a lot of instances. If you have a customer, for example, who is looking to implement Office 365 and they're at least curious about a complete migration to the cloud, M365 could very well be their solution. I'll provide more specifics on that, on price and product comparisons in just a minute. And we actually have some product comparisons and other resources posted below that you can view yourself, and I think that'll be really beneficial. Now, what do we mean when we call something a modern workplace? I think actually now is a good time to address that question, as it's something that we're all dealing with pretty much regularly nowadays. So first, let's define the classic workspace. So it's what we've been dealing with for years. Usually, all of that business's systems, platform, is run on a single device. Those devices are normally business supplied. You work in the office itself, and typically this design is aimed towards, boomers and Gen X workers. Whereas the modern workplace is very different. Each user is typically able to interface with their company's systems on multiple platforms and devices. Those devices are often business-owned as well as user-owned, and this means that they can work from anywhere. Typically, this sort of workplace is tailored towards more the millennials and the Gen Ys. So for most of you out there still getting familiar with cloud solutions and getting the latest technologies, upgrading your customers' environment so that they can meet this level of modern workplace can often be daunting and confusing. So that's actually why Microsoft 365 was developed. M365 was created to facilitate this transition by addressing three main concerns in all businesses. They are security, mobility, and collaboration, and addressing each of those and managing each of those from a single location in the cloud. In fact, one of the key benefits of Microsoft 365, of a Microsoft 365 environment, I should say, is the robust and simple management portal. Microsoft is continuously adding new features to the admin center, whether that's fixing issues that they learn about or making changes based on community feedback. It's ever growing and changing. So real quick first, I have a couple of demos set up for you today. Let's take a brief look at the admin center now so you can get familiar with what it looks like. Okay, so here is the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. You will note, if any of you have seen the Office Admin Center, this is very, very similar. It's just got a couple of the added features that Microsoft 365 offers. So if it's the first time that you've come to the Admin Center, you'll get this little welcome menu here. This is really just a tour. If you click next, it'll show you some of the different places, the navigation bar, and so on. But I wanted to point out just a couple of things to you. First of all, users. So this is typically where you're going to come the first time that you come to any admin center, whether it's Office or Microsoft 365. This will show you a list of all the active users. It'll show you which licenses are assigned to them, their email addresses, of course. This is, pre-assigning or registering your own domain to them. And setting up the environment. If we head back here to home, the other thing I want to note, that came up again, is that Microsoft 365 Business offers this wizard tutorial as well for setting up your environment. So if I click Continue Setup, and I won't go through this whole thing here since I don't have a lot of the information it's looking for in the first step. I don't have a custom domain to show you for this demonstration, but that's what we're talking about here. Microsoft 365 Business makes this process very simple for any registered domain name if you want to assign it to users in your Exchange environment. It allows you to add additional users. This is for initial setup, obviously connecting to the domain. So if it's something like GoDaddy or some of the other more popular registers, you actually don't really need to do anything to connect your domain to it as long as the domain is registered with one of those larger providers. Not Outlook, but Microsoft 365 takes care of pretty much all of that setup and DNS record targeting. And then final step here is to make sure that your security is set up properly so that you protect your data and devices. So this whole process really walks you through it, and it makes it all very, very simple. The last thing I just want to show you is this preview mode. So this is new to Office Admin Center as well as Microsoft 365, and I really think it just adds to the value. This gives you this dashboard page, first of all, which includes a lot of the information that you're going to want to use and look at right out of the gate. Here it normally would list active users, any sort of balance that might be due, and then from here you can go down to devices, set up autopilot or any policies. Create groups and make sure that they are set up properly with permissions or shared mailboxes, for example. It's all done from this one site here, and it's very straightforward. Now, M365 comes in a few different versions and therefore scales depending on the size of the environment. There's typically a Microsoft 365 version that will fit perfectly regardless of the number of users, but they are all managed by that same portal. More on those specifics in just a moment. But first, as I mentioned, Microsoft has three main concerns when developing Microsoft 365. They are mobility, security, and collaboration. So first, mobility. How does it help your users become more mobile? So M365, as I mentioned, integrates Office 365 apps, but also OneDrive for Business, for file storage, Outlook, and several other tools, in order to keep employees working on the go and connected to their email, calendars, coworkers, and data, even while they're offline. This is done through caching. When the connection is restored, their files and inbox sync automatically. And if you have any customers that are currently using Office 365, this is something that would certainly be familiar to them. However, those Office 365 customers may not be familiar with the level of security that you can achieve with Microsoft 365. According to a 2016 study, more than 50% of small businesses have suffered a data breach or cyber attack of some kind, with costs that can average more than $84,000 per breach. That can really affect most small businesses. Windows 10 Pro has built-in defenses against these modern security threats. But this is still a huge security issue that keeps getting bigger year after year. Remember, without proper device management, each employee that comes to work every day with a network-attached device, their cell phone, that is now a potential security leak. So for IT admins, that's only part of the problem they have to consider. Studies have shown that over 60% of security breaches stem from simple employee error as well. Sending an email containing some kind of sensitive information, or simply just sending something to someone they shouldn't have. Microsoft addresses both of these security concerns as well as others with enterprise mobility and security along with Windows 10 Pro. By combining EMS and Windows 10 Pro, you can provide automatic and universal enforcement of security policies that will reduce the risk of data breaches. Mobile devices receive the latest updates according to policies set up by the admin, and built-in encryption can even give you the ability to lock down and even wipe stolen devices if that were to ever occur. A lot of those functions are actually done with a program called Microsoft Intune, which is included in EMS. With Intune, you're actually also able to manage which mobile devices are able to access network resources and data, and manage, which mobile apps they have access to. This is typically enterprise-level device management that is now easily available to every size organization from 5 users to 5,000. EMS also includes a host of security products that are normally purchased separately, such as Azure Information Protection, email encryption, advanced threat analytics, and data loss prevention. Now, we don't necessarily have the time to take a deep dive into that product, but it's a pretty important one. So I want to take a moment and at least show you Intune, get you familiar with what the interface is, and just kind of point out some less than obvious stuff for you. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so in order to demonstrate Microsoft Intune, I have to show you Microsoft Azure Resource Manager. So for any of you who are completely unfamiliar with Azure, you're looking at it. This is the dashboard, the platform in which you can deploy any Azure resource. Check out some of our previous videos if you want to learn more. I'm not going to go into any details here, only just for the sake of time. I got to make these demos very quick. So explaining real quickly what we're looking at is the dashboard here is customizable. We can add different windows. You have different configuration options and just tools available up here in the right-hand corner, as well as your search bar. And on the left-hand side here is how you deploy any resource. So what we're going to do, since Intune is not normally listed, I have it saved here as a favorite. But if you go to All Services, simply search for the word Intune, you will get a handful of results. Just something to note, Intune App Protection is not Intune exactly. It's, a long story short, it's not what we're looking for, so you can ignore it. And this one here is actually a shortcut to the same application. I believe it just opens in a new window, so it's not necessary for what we're doing today. So I'm going to select Intune, and this is the Intune dashboard. If we had any devices that were enrolled, you'd be able to see a quick status update, any sort of errors or failures that have occurred, and any sort of application installation failures. These are just quick, easy updates for you. But let's go into device compliance. So this is under policies, where you would see the list of existing device compliance policies. So let's just take a look at the one that exists already. Under properties, I can show you exactly what settings you're able to configure with this policy. They are, email needs to be, you can actually set this up right now. It's not, as you can see, setup is not configured, but you can set up so that mobile devices need to have a managed email profile in order to connect. Under device health, you can you can make sure that jailbroken devices are not able to connect to your network. You can also then require a device to be under or at a certain device threat level as well. As you can see, this is not configured, but we certainly can. Device properties, you can set a minimum and maximum OS version. Obviously, there's practical use for that. And then finally, system security. This is where you can require a password for connecting to it, and then you can restrict certain devices as well. So it's, as you can see, pretty darn robust. Something like this is something that enterprises have been using for years, but it's often way too challenging of a project for customers of our size to deploy. It often requires email gateways, servers in the perimeter, and lots of configuration and potentially even customized scripts in order to do that. With this cloud architecture, though, we are able to significantly reduce that complexity, and we're able to do it with just really 2 steps. The first is we would define a compliance policy, and then we would simply enable that policy. So let's show you briefly how that would be done with some of the existing policies that we have. Under conditional access and under policies, you note that we have 2 different policy names. Let's go to High Business Impact MFA policy. So this one is exactly as it sounds. This is a multi-factor authentication policy. So it's going to have those particular access controls, or I believe it is somewhere here. Point is, let me just click through and I'll show you. For assignments, this is all the users that are specifically assigned to this policy. In this case, it's sales and marketing. The app that it affects is Salesforce. And in this particular case, we have no conditions. However, as you can see, there are a lot of conditions that you can determine. This is to grant access, and it's going to require MFA. That's as simple as it is. Simply grant access, click on MFA, and that is it. Hit select, and then enable policy. This session controls are able to limit the experience, the amount of time and usage as well. So there's a lot of customization. As you can see, you don't need to do it all. And then once you do, you hit down here. This will be creates the policy, and then we enable it. So very, very straightforward system that enables you to do enterprise level conditional access in any size environment. Of course, mobility and security aren't the only advantages here. As I've mentioned, M365 is powered by Office 365, so users can easily jump on, for example, a Skype for Business video conference in order to communicate, share files, and plan the next step as if everyone was in the room with them. Then, once they have the project communicated and scheduled, they can continue to collaborate by sharing those documents or spreadsheets or presentations that they're working on, and you can collaborate in real time. Each user that has actually been shared the item and given permission to edit it will actually appear as a different color cursor, and you'll actually get to see them typing in real time. This process is what Microsoft calls co-authoring. In a world where most of us are still collaborating using email, this is a really big step forward. But actually, that's just one aspect of the collaboration Microsoft 365 encourages. With, for example, OneDrive for Business, you can instantly share work with employees and offer them different levels of permission instantly. This level of collaboration and permission can even be delivered to people outside of the organization. So, for example, let's say that you have finished a presentation that you and your team are working on, and now you need to get it reviewed and approved by your legal reviewer. You can simply just add the reviewer to your team, or you can share the file with them directly. With controlled permissions, so that this method of collaboration is actually viable for people working with sensitive information, such as legal or medical. Now, I mentioned the term team in there. Speaking of team, one application Microsoft is putting a huge emphasis behind is Microsoft Teams. This is the ultimate collaboration tool for today's modern workplace, since it offers a centralized platform where everyone can communicate and access files. This is done in sort of a social media type format, which has actually become obviously very familiar and very popular to the working public. It allows individuals in the organization to post updates on projects, either to groups or to individuals, these projects that they're working on, and then they can get instant feedback. It's really coming in on its own, and I think it's actually visually pretty cool, so let's take a quick look at that one as well. Okay, so the easiest way to access Teams is actually right here in a browser. All you do is go to teams.microsoft.com. You sign in using your regular sign-in information. This would be, in the case of Microsoft 365 deployment, your network's information, your domain information, and you come to this screen. Alternatively, there is a desktop application, which is right here, and as you can see, it more or less looks exactly the same. It's just an application, part of the Office 365 suite. Right here, you can actually download the application from the website if you would like, but you can function everything from here too. But let's take a look at what all this information here is. So first of all, these are different teams, as you can see on the left-hand side here. This is a demonstration that was created with different launch teams, and under each one is different categories of information that needs to be portrayed, or communicated between different employees. For example, this one here has more the channels than can fit in 5. So if we were like go to market plan, you can have all of this information here. Comments that people are making and how they expect to go to market. You can see everybody's replies, and again, this is really simple stuff because it looks like everything that we're used to in social media nowadays. Additionally, this is now your new instant message tool. So if we were to go to chat, from right here, I can click up here and create a new message. Start typing in people. I don't really know these people, so I'm just picking them at random. Hey, look. And there you go. So I just sent a message, and this is similar to Skype. It's the same relative idea, but the idea is that all of this can be done within the same pane of glass, as well as sharing files and true collaboration. So this is really one of the best new apps in Office 365. I hope you like what you see here, and if you have any specific questions about it, be sure to ask us in the Q&A. Now, most of these features of security, mobility, and collaboration are only enabled on a Windows 10 Pro desktop. This is actually often the overlooked third leg of the M365 suite, but I would argue is perhaps the most important. Many of the features included in Office 365 and EMS are not compatible with previous desktop OSs. So Windows 10 is quite necessary. You can purchase M365 and not upgrade existing client desktops, but that is certainly not recommended. That said, Microsoft has made the process for upgrading existing systems to Windows 10 extremely easy, automated, and manageable, especially with Microsoft 365. And in fact, not replacing those older PCs can actually end up costing your customers money in the long run. A study in Small Business PC in 2016 said that every PC older than 4 years can cost their business over $1,700 a year and slow down that user's productivity. This is a completely preventable cost and one that will only continue to grow the longer that they put off that device refresh. Now, that said, there's a couple of different versions of Microsoft 365. Let's just go and talk briefly about those different versions and their differences. So generally speaking, there are 3 different versions of M365. They are Business, Enterprise E3, and Enterprise E5. Now, there are also a set of SKUs that are discounted for education. Those are the A1, 3, and 5 SKUs. We're not going to go over them for sake of time today, but if you would like more information, just contact us directly. The primary difference between those 3 versions boils down essentially to the size of the business they're going into. Microsoft 365 Business was designed with small to medium-sized businesses in mind, whereas Enterprise was designed for larger companies. This idea is further reinforced with a user limit of 300 for the business product, similar to Office 365 Business SKUs, whereas Enterprise has no user limit. And there are also additional differences with the size of the organization in mind. But overall, the 3 products are honestly certainly comparable, and we'll provide a comparison chart as I mentioned. I think it's better for you to visualize the differences. However, let's just talk about some highlighted ones so you get an idea. Business includes actually a lot of products that Enterprise does not. For example, Publisher, as well as a lot of applications that are brand new. For example, Outlook Customer Manager, Bookings, Invoicing, MailIQ, and many others. However, M365 Business mailboxes are limited to 50 gig per user, whereas Enterprises are not limited at all. And another key difference is that M365 includes Windows 10 Business, whereas E3 and E5 include Windows 10 Enterprise. Now, some of you may have caught that. I said Windows 10 Business. This is an important distinction. Now, technically the product is still Windows 10 Pro. However, Windows 10 Business includes a unique set of cloud services and device management capabilities that complement Windows 10 Pro and enable the centralized management tools of Microsoft 365. Windows 10 Business also comes with Windows Autopilot. It's a service that actually streamlines the deployment of new Windows 10 PCs. So with it, you can actually deploy a new Windows 10 PC to an end user without taking any time to install a customized image. Instead, Autopilot takes a different approach. After the setup, after you create your configuration, the only interaction that needs to happen to configure that new PC is the user simply needs to connect it to a network and sign in using their domain's credentials. All the customization is then automated. So at this time, let's take a minute and demo some of what the new Office products look like. First, let's take a look at Outlook Customer Manager. All right, here we are in Outlook. I'll show you a very, very brief demo here of Customer Manager. Now, Outlook Customer Manager is an add-on to Outlook. So you will find it up here in the upper right-hand corner. And the way that it works is very simple. If I select an email for a contact that I don't already have, and in this particular demo, I think I already did add this, but it's the same difference. I'll show you what it looks like. You select Customer Manager in the upper right-hand corner, and it opens up this pane. Now, right now, it's showing view details. That is because I already have this person added as a contact. You can see their company is listed here below, but I can show you the process. It's very straightforward. Initially here, this is a really simple overview of everything this account has connected to. You can also barrel into more of that relationship by clicking on Show All Related up here in the upper right. If you click on View Details, which otherwise would be Add as a Contact, you'll note that the first and last name is automatically populated as well as the email address. You'd have to add things like company name, business address. You can even add a birthday and so on. So that is Outlook Customer Manager. It allows you to do this and set up relations between your contacts very simply and easily. I wish I had more time to show you that, but let's move on real quickly to another application I really like, and that is Bookings. Now, Bookings is accessible through Outlook 365, or excuse me, Office 365. So if you're in the Office portal, you can actually access this via the web, like I'm doing right now, or you can download the application itself. Typically, it's not listed here in your app launcher favorited apps. It is now because I just selected it. But if you go to all apps, it's normally right here. So you select Bookings, it'll open quickly to this launch page here. At a glance, you can get an idea of what you have scheduled coming up, but let me get to the point. Bookings is a services scheduler. So this allows you to schedule different appointments with customers and keep it all scheduled and keep track of everything depending on regardless of the number of staff members you have. So if you select calendar here, I can show you can look at this by day, work week, the full week, or the month. I believe this particular demo has, here on this particular week, this is a landscaping company and the different tasks that the different employees had to do for the remainder of that week. The way that this is done is very simple. You just create a new booking, and I unfortunately don't have the time to go and show you this, but it is really straightforward. You select which task you are attempting to do, which service, and you select a time and assign it to one or more employees. That is done real simply over here. For example, if I select services, I can show you these are all the different services. Add a service right up here, and you select the name of the service itself, how long it takes, the default price, whether or not payment is required, and which employees, which staff members actually can facilitate this particular task. You add your staff members here, you add your customers here, very straightforward stuff. And then that way you can keep track here on your calendar. This is probably, though, my favorite feature of Bookings, which is essentially a sort of a social media site that you can publish to the internet, customized with different colors, with your own company logo. And this is just a link that then you can provide your customers to have them automatically schedule appointments with you. You can basically, it'll show all the different services that you offer and available time slots so that your customer can come in and automatically schedule those for you. This is, in my opinion, the most powerful aspect of Bookings. And again, this is all included in Office 365. Now, something else to consider is that Windows 10 Pro, or in this case, Business, can actually only upgrade previous Windows Pro versions. So, Windows 7, 8, 8, and 8.1 Pro. Any home versions of Windows must have a separate license of Windows 10 Pro purchased and installed on it. That is also the case for Enterprise. Enterprise must be upgraded from Pro. Also, for the most advanced remote management capabilities that are available through Microsoft 365, an Azure AD Premium subscription is required. Microsoft 365 does come with Azure AD, but it's a sort of watered-down version that's a little bit better than the basic free version, but not quite the Azure Premium P1. So, typically, Azure AD Premium P1 is added on to M365 Business sales. Of course, there is a lot more specific differences between Pro and Enterprise. We can get into that later. If you actually have specific questions about that, please be sure to leave them in the Q&A, and we'll try to get them either to you in our live Q&A or emailed to you. And also the comparison chart, once again, I think should help most of you answer some of the questions that you might have. Okay, now you might all be sitting there thinking, okay, this is fine, I kind of like this product, but how do I buy it, and how in the world do I sell it? Well, those are very good questions. So purchasing Microsoft 365 and Office 365 through distribution has actually never been easier. If you haven't done so already, please sign up for our CSP or Cloud Solutions Provider program. You can do so at dndh.com/cloud solutions. By becoming a member of our CSP team, you have access to our whole line of cloud vendor products, including Microsoft, directly from our customized portal. This allows you to sell cloud services as though you were hosting them yourself at a markup. This is a process that should be very familiar to you, as it's like our traditional business. You're going to be selling these products at a cost and a markup. Now, we currently have all the Microsoft 365 and Office 365 products that were mentioned today, as well as other services like Microsoft Azure available through that program. Now, to be clear, CSP is the only method available to purchase Microsoft 365. However, not all customers are ready for CSP. So for those customers, there is a retail option to acquire Office 365. Now, to be clear, Office 365. Now, the retail version of this SKU is all about simplicity and is best suited for customers that do not actually have an IT management group at their disposal. The retail version of Office 365 Premium, Business Premium, is actually a year-long commitment instead of a monthly subscription. So it gives you the option to offer your customers something different, looking to purchase Office, and may not be interested in a reoccurring payment. Again, though, to be clear, Microsoft 365 doesn't have that option. It is only available through CSP. So, you have now purchased M365 via CSP. So now what? How do you sell this product that no one has ever heard of? Okay, so first we would suggest the upsell method that I had mentioned earlier. Fortunately, Office 365 has, over the last few years, definitely become a staple in many customers' environments. So the upsell to Microsoft 365 is actually a pretty natural one, and will continue to allow you to, it will allow you to begin that conversation about a full migration to the cloud. Now, cost isn't something that we usually talk about here in the Solutions Lab. However, I think this is where we need to. So Office 365 Business Premium is the highest selling version of Office 365 that we carry. It has an MSRP of $12.50 per user per month. Microsoft 365 Business comes in at $20 per user per month. Business Premium compares perfectly with M365 Business because they're basically the same Office experience, while the latter actually includes the enterprise-level security features as well as Windows 10 Pro. So the low-hanging fruit out there would definitely be to just contact your Office 365 customers. You can upgrade them to M365 even while they already have Office 365 in place. The customer will have to actually do nothing different to access the additional features. Everything is done on the back end. So the other target that we would ask you to consider are those that are looking to adopt the cloud fully. These are the ones that are looking to do it, but they don't know how to get there. This is especially great for some of you who may not be as necessarily familiar with cloud services just yet. This will get your customers started in cloud computing and allow for easy cloud add-ons down the road, like perhaps an Azure deployment. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you haven't guessed it already, selling cloud business, cloud computing can be complicated. It's complicated to quote, and it can be complicated to deploy, at least until you're familiar with it. So one of the biggest selling tips / features that we can give you today is to just simplify the process as much as you can. It's something that we attempt to do here at D&H to one degree or another, but we certainly can't, because of our resellers, we can't simplify it completely. You would need to understand exactly what you're buying. But your interaction with your customer can be entirely different. We have found that the traditional good, better, best, or t-shirt size model, whichever one you want to call it, is actually the best way to market a platform migration like this. Here's an example. For your first, let's call it good offering, that could just be transition to Office 365. This would give you the opportunity to migrate their email to Exchange Online and to deploy Office. These things are chargeable services. This would give them SharePoint, Skype for Business, potentially for the first time, and compared to an actual Exchange server deployment, you'll find yourself making substantially more margin and saving the customer a lot of money. Now, the next better option could be to jump up to Microsoft 365 Business. This would allow for Windows 10 rollouts, introducing Teams, device management, and again, these are services and with continued support that can typically add up to some serious margin. And then finally, your best option could be deploying M365 with all of the enabled security features such as advanced threat protection, data loss prevention, and Azure information protection that we've mentioned. Now, using this method of simple predetermined packages allows for flexibility and the marketability that end users are looking for. But as I hope you agree, Microsoft 365 in itself is already perfect for this simple tiered method of marketing cloud services. Often, this simple method is enough to convince some customers that are already on the fence, and then it will allow you again to bring up additional services with them down the road. Now, so I hope this M365 overview wasn't too much information in your face all at once. I really do hope that you came out of it understanding the product quite a bit more, but I fully expect there to be quite a lot of questions. So Please stick around for after this webcast. We're going to have our live Q&A. I will do my best to answer all your questions, but even if we don't get to them then, please stay tuned. We will contact you by email, or we will list all of the questions out in this on-demand video. At any point in time, you can email us at cloudsolutions@dnh.com for individual support. And as always, thank you very much for joining us and being here with us. I will see you all next time.